This video is sponsored by the cool people over at XPPen and viewers like you. Thank you. Hi everyone! I'm Jakeneutron, the founder and director of Team Neutron, and animated music videos for songs like Don't Listen, Make Believe, the upcoming Jax Toy, and the recently released Play My Way. I know some of you out there may be interested in making animated music videos yourself, but may be overwhelmed and don't know where to start or how to continue. Well, I'm here to try and demystify some of the process, even if it's effectively a SparkNotes retelling of our own process. Hopefully by the end of this, you might have an idea on where you might want to start. Usually I like to break this down into 5 phases: production, design, animation, compositing and rendering, and release and marketing. Yes, the phases start at 0. Phase 0, pre-production. First, obviously, a song needs to be made, at least a demo of it, a version of the track that has the general idea down, some placeholder vocals, the main structure of the song. You can polish it up during production. Once a song demo is made, whether it's the basic structure demo or a full version of it, it's time to figure out what you want to happen in the video. Usually I start by making a document outline with timestamps of what I'm visualizing. It doesn't have to be perfect on jump. Often I mull around the imagery in my head for a while before I start writing it down. Once it's been written down, I can more confidently start on storyboards without fear of forgetting how I wanted it to go down while drawing. Last step is to time your boards to the music in a video format. This will be the backbone of production, so everyone can see the basic vision and desired timing. The great thing about having an animatic is that it makes it easier to break down the rest of production. Now that we have an animatic, let's break down all the visible assets, all the backgrounds we need, all the props, the characters on screen, and rather they need rigs, how many shots are in the music video, etc, etc. This will help you know exactly all that needs to be worked on. If you're working with a team, this is essential so you can communicate and distribute tasks with team members. The animatic is a good starting point, but it's also good to try some smaller takes on how you want the video to look. Character sketches, color keys, test animations, all of these things are ways to engage with your idea without having to dive into the hard part immediately. Once you have a solid enough vision for how you want the video to look visually and timing-wise, and you're working with a team, it's good to create some guides for them. Not everyone on the team draws the same as you, or animates the same as you, or even submits their work the same. The best productions will consider this and give their team some guidance on what is expected. An animation guide can inform your animators on the rules on how you want the characters to move. Do you want them to move real snappy with a focus on short overshoot, or would you rather them have smooth movements with a lot of keyframes? Are there specifics for how the lip sync works on these characters, like frame spacing, or maybe where the mouth is allowed to be positioned on the character's face? You also may want shot-specific guides. These kind of guides can take off some stress from yourself and the team, so nobody is guessing what is expected, and you don't have to do as many corrections later on. Say this is non-volunteer, and everyone in the project is being paid, which I highly recommend. It can get pretty expensive with how many moving parts need to be managed. If your project is not a volunteer project, you'll want to pay attention to how much things are going to cost. Amounts can vary, depending on how demanding the work is. Rather you're an entirely independent team, or being provided funding from a donor or company, it'd help a lot to know how much the people you're working with are comfortable with being paid. So I encourage asking a range of people in those fields how much they usually charge and why. Most likely, if you're watching this video, it's because you're planning to work independently, which means you most likely don't have studio levels of money. But don't be discouraged by this. We're artists. Money keeps the food on the table, but it's not the only reason we want to participate in art. And many projects are driven by the passion to see it through. Money more just being the glue that helps the project move forward. Talk open and honestly with your team about the finances, and make a plan on how to make it work. If you're not really great with money, it's worth finding someone who is. Trust. Art jobs are not the only kinds of jobs that make these projects flow. Let's say you're producing with a team, like me. Building a team can be a pretty daunting thing to start trying to do. It can be difficult to know who you need to hire and who are the right people. Let's start with the foundation. You need PAs, production assistants. I'm not an expert on this, but on my team, I have people whose specific jobs are able to provide additional guidance and attention to the details of the project. Like someone in charge of paying attention to the budgets and payments, another who keeps track of the artist's progress and if they need additional time or help, things like that. Often projects have leads for certain departments too, like an animation lead or a background art lead. These things, of course, depend on your scope and needs. Most of the music videos we've worked on didn't really need leads since I was operating as a lead and director. But trust me, wearing many hats can get stressful, but allocating those hats can also get expensive. What's best for your project? Phase 1, prop and background production. So, now that you've got a team, you have an animatic, you've broken down everything that needs to be made, and you know your budget. Let's begin production. The first step we usually do is to start producing these type of assets: illustrated or modeled props, backgrounds, model sheets, and rigs. Additionally, there is an opportunity to be sure there's a cohesion between these assets, that they're all in the same style, or there's rules established on how the colors will look in certain scenarios, if needed. To segue to our sponsor, did you know when Don't Listen was being worked on, XPPen had gifted us an Artist Pro tablet that I did a brief review on. Great returning timing, because while we were finishing up Play My Way, they sent us their sequel tablet, the Artist Pro 24 Gen 2 165Hz. Once again, happy to have a screen tablet this big, with a 24-inch display, but now with improvements like a higher refresh rate of 165Hz. Most screen tablets are around 60 Hz. Even my iPad caps at around 120 Hz, meaning it'll be even better for drawing and animating live, but also gaming, like when I play Repo with friends. Guys, I really love Repo. It also has 16,000 pressure levels, and I feel like a good pen sensitivity is always a plus. I also noticed when unboxing that it comes with two separate pens, the Pro Slim Stylus and X3 Pro Smart Chip Stylus, in a nice rounded case. One of the pens actually looks closer to my old stylus, but with a wireless adapter, while the other newer one has a more slim shape. I actually prefer the new one. It's cute. The screen is also anti-glare and anti-fingerprints. Extremely convenient for artists who may need to touch their screens often while drawing. This one doesn't have buttons along the screen like the original one had, but it does come with a wireless remote, so that's a plus for users who just want screen. The Artist Pro 24 Gen 2 is sold at $1,100 USD, but XPPen often has sales. You can also use promo code JAKE5, I know, so simple, to get 5% off products in their store. Get them while the discounts are still in your grasp. Now, back to the video. Phase 2, animation. Rather Phase 1 has finished or not, you'll want to start at least thinking about the animation phase. The bulk of what makes an animated music video, animated. In Phase 0, we broke down the music video into shots. This has already given us a scope of how many unique scenes there are to animate. It's time to start handing out those scenes to animators to work with, preferably with some guidance on what you specifically want from them working on these shots. Having a timeline for when you want these tasks worked on is also important. It's possible to do one with a more lax or easy production, as artists and or yourself might be able to knock out tasks easy. But giving people structure and expectations on when things should be checked and submitted means less instances of people putting off those tasks in comparison to anything else they need to focus on outside of the project. You want your team to be able to consider their own schedule with these tasks. Often shots will be submitted in passes, basically a way to communicate with the artist on what they're doing right and what may need to be adjusted to better fit the vision. It's not typical for someone to submit something perfect the first time around, since they can't read your mind. But with proper preliminary guidance, it shouldn't take too many passes to get what you want. After you've gone through an amount of passes, it's handy to maybe pass that scene to someone else to clean up, to make sure it's on model, that the lines or continuity is in check. Having this as its own category in the pipeline ensures that some of the process is spread out amongst people, so no one is stuck on one shot for too long and fatigues. Shot fatigue is a real thing. Once the scene is good to go, we render. You should be aware about the process you're going to take when compositing, but you'll often want to export scenes in layers so you can get creative with the effects later. Which brings us to Phase 3, compositing and rendering. Once again, this is a phase that technically can start while other phases are going on. In this phase, we start compiling the assets together to actually make the music video look like the music video. First, I usually block out the timeline using the animatic as a guide for how sections are split up. I use After Effects to composite my music videos, by the way. I don't know if that's typical or whatnot. With scenes blocked out, I can usually plug and play assets as they're finished, so you can see the video coming together in real time. It's why we have so many passes for things like Play My Way, Don't Listen, /Hug Me, and Make Believe. Don't forget to credit everyone. I recommend having some way to, or someone, document all the people on the project's names, @, and roles in the project as it's happening. It makes it easier to make the credit section of the music video if you already were on top of it. And check with artists to make sure that they are credited and being credited correctly. I typically produce my videos in 1080p or 2K, since that's all my computer can handle for large renders. But you can upscale this to 4K later in programs like Premiere to make sure your video looks as good as it can on platforms like YouTube that will compress the hell out of it if it's too close to standard HD. I don't know why I have a color correcting segment here, but I mean, like, this is something I actually know very little about, and I only recently started doing color correction on like Play My Way, and I kind of like bullshitted my way through it. There's definitely problems. Just have that something to consider. Color correction. Yeah, you can do it in Premiere. Look at this. Look at these LUTs. Ooh. Phase 4, release and marketing. Now that you have the final render, let's upload it to YouTube. There haven't really been any special words that guarantee algorithmic favor in my experience. If you ask me, it's a matter of making the video as easy as possible to find for the audience it's for. If it's for fans of a specific franchise, and you have room, maybe put such and such fan song in the title alongside the actual title of the song. With the description, you'll want to consider how viewers will see it while scrolling, and what information information from the description YouTube will consider in its recommendation calculations. Most artists put their links for the song at the top of the description so people can see where to stream/download immediately. But also on search or feed previews, the first couple sentences may be what viewers usually see. An accurate description that mentions the topic a decent amount will let YouTube know how to recommend the video. No need to overthink this. Just be accurate and eye-catching. It's good to be conscious of when you're posting the video if you care about initial numbers, but YouTube says when a video drops isn't a big component of if it will do well. A video could sit for a while before blowing up weeks or months or maybe even years later. Though I do recommend premiering so that you can have a shared viewing experience with your audience. It's fun. Okay, your video is uploaded and ready to premiere when you set it. What now? Well, let people know it's coming. You actually should be doing this at least a little bit before it's done too. If you want people to know about your video, you shouldn't be afraid to let them know it exists. For advertising the video coming up, you could do a regular video trailer for the channel. Do not premiere this. Do not premiere a regular trailer if you plan to have it be the trailer for the actual premiere. YouTube does not let premiered videos be trailers. Do social media trailers or clips, both for YouTube, YouTube Shorts, or other platforms like Reels, TikTok, or Twitter. The more places, the better. You could also do countdown image posts. Okay, the video is out. What now? Don't stop talking about the video! You spent all that time and money on this finished, beautiful product. Keep pushing it! Some suggestions on extra supplementary content for your music video could include behind-the-scenes videos, like this one. Clips from the video posted onto social media. Patreon behind-the-scene posts. We have a Patreon, by the way. Dance or meme videos. Those are always fun to do. Maybe some variations of the music video, like a broken version or an instrumental version. Karaoke, layout only, etc., etc. You spend all this time making it. Keep using it. Every journey for an animated project such as this will be different. I pretty much just gave the spark notes of our typical ones, but I started doing this stuff when I was like in high school, and I've worked up to being able to work with such a talented and passionate team. I believe just about everyone who's watched this video to this point has that same potential. If you're willing to be patient, work hard, work smart, and have a little luck on your side. Make it happen. That's probably all from me for now, so I'm gonna sign off. But remember, it's all cartoons.